Okay, part three, RBT practice question review. Okay, questions you might um, see on the exam. These aren't exact exam questions, but they are similar to the questions you might see. Check out part one and two on my channel, and then check out my task list review as well. Okay, so let's jump in. Our goal in data collection is to collect good, believable data. Indicators of good data are, okay, so off the bat, when we're looking for good data, okay, just so you know, there's three indicators of good data in ABA. Okay, so if you know that, this question's really easy. Okay, because you can just find the answer with three components, which is B, which is our right answer. Okay, but if you don't know that, okay, then you need to know what are the indicators. So what we're looking for in data is for it to be reliable, accurate, and valid. Okay, reliable means you can measure the same thing repeatedly and get the same result. Okay. Accurate means your measurements are correct and reflect the data correctly. Okay. They're accurate measurements. And then valid means you're measuring the right thing. Okay. So if I ask you to measure um, screaming and you're measuring hand raising, your hand raising data could be reliable, it could be accurate, but I'm not asking you to measure hand raising, so it's not valid. I'm asking you to measure screaming. Okay, so the only answer here is B, reliable, accurate, and valid. A, don't get confused, is right, looks pretty good. You want your data to be true, you kind of want it to be verified, but just because it's true and verified doesn't make it accurate, right? Inter observers is somebody who's helping you verify data, right? They could say, "Oh yeah, that data is correct. It's true. It's verified." Right? But what if you both have wrong data? Okay? So now you're both wrong, right? So we need all three. We need data to be reliable, accurate, and valid. Preparing to collect data involves many steps. Of the following steps, which would come first? Okay, so you're an RBT, right? You're preparing your session or you're preparing for a new case. Okay. Before we can collect data, what do we need to do? A, verify data. We don't have any data, so that's not right. B, select a tracking method. Okay, but do we know what we're tracking? Not yet, right? If I just said, hey, go collect data, your first question should be, well, what am I tracking, right? So if you don't know what we're collecting data on, you can't select a tracking method. Okay, so B's not right. C, collect baseline data. Again, what are we measuring? We don't know yet. How can we measure baseline data on a behavior that we don't know, right? So that leaves the only answer, D, define the target behavior. So before you do anything, before you measure anything, you've got to pick a target behavior and you've got to define it, okay? Without a clear definition, right, how will you measure the right thing? Okay, how will we get reliable, accurate, and valid data? Okay, so before you do anything, define the target behavior. All right. Permanent product procedures would be most appropriate for. So when you get a question like this, which is asking about a measurement system, okay, always think to yourself, when would I use permanent product? Okay, what is it? What is the use? Okay, what is permanent product? This is where your definitions come in handy. Okay, this is why you need to go over the task list and you need to review my task list video so you get the definitions down. So what is permanent product? Permanent product is the result of the behavior, right? What does that mean? It means you don't have to observe the behavior happening to be able to measure it. So going in knowing that, let's look at our answers. A, how often a student is aggressive towards others? How would you measure a student being aggressive if you weren't watching a student being aggressive? Well, you could say, well, they leave bruises or scrapes or scratches. What if they don't? What if it's verbal aggression? What if their aggression doesn't leave marks? You wouldn't know it happened unless you observed it. So there's no product to observe. A is out. B, checking if a resident of a group home is able to get all of the groceries on their list. That's pretty good. If you give someone a list and say, I need you to buy eggs, milk, and potatoes, do you need to go to the store and watch them buy them? Or can you just come home later, open the cabinet in the fridge, and see what you got? That's the product. You don't have to observe the behavior. B looks pretty good. C, how long a child takes to put their shoes on after the initial prompt. Once shoes are on, how are you going to measure how long it took them to put it on after you prompted? Okay, so if you're not watching them get prompted and then put their shoes on, it's impossible to measure C. And D, self-injurious behavior. Okay, again, this kind of goes back to the aggression thing. Well, if they leave marks, maybe I can measure that. Okay, but what if they don't leave marks? What if there aren't any signs of self-injurious behavior? Okay, what if they headbang and an hour later there's no indication of the headbanging, right? You'd never know what happened. Again, there's no product, so it can't be that. It has to be B. Ms. Jackson wants to measure how often Jimmy disrupts her class. Disruption is defined as speaking during a lecture without raising his hand. Ms. Jackson will take data for 15 minutes each day during her class and will record an instance of behavior if Jimmy disrupts her at all during each 30-second interval. What type of measurement is this? Again, we need to know what type of measurement it is. Okay, so think about the components. Jimmy's disrupting her class. So what are we measuring? Disruption. Okay. Does the definition in this case matter? No, we just need to know what type of measurement we're using. Okay. So Ms. Jackson will take data for 15 minutes each day during her class and will record an instance of behavior if Jimmy disrupts her at all during each 30-second interval. That right there gives you the answer, okay? So we know it's interval recording, right? 15 minutes, so it's not continuous, it's a set amount of time. 30-second intervals, so we're measuring in intervals. So what do we need to know? We need to know what type of interval recording she's using, okay? Is she using partial, whole, or momentary? So let's find that. Ms. Jackson will take data for 15 minutes each day during her class and will record an instance of behavior if Jimmy disrupts her at all during each interval. So if it happens at all, she's going to record an instance of behavior. What type of interval recording is that? Well, we know it's not whole. It's whole. It needs to happen the entire 30 seconds, okay? That can't be right. Momentary, we know, happens at the end, okay, of the interval, so that can't be right. Duration is an interval recording, so that leaves us with partial. It has to be partial, right? Partial interval recording, if the behavior happens at all, you count it. That's our answer. Your BCBA wants to implement an extinction procedure for Timmy's falling out of chair behavior. What should you expect to happen if extinction is implemented correctly? Again, RBT exam definition is so important. What do we know about extinction? Okay, we know it causes something. What does it cause? Well, look at A, an extinction burst. This should be an easy question, okay? You should know if you implement extinction correctly, an extinction burst is likely to happen. B, Timmy no longer feels frustrated. That's very wrong. We didn't talk about frustration. We can't measure frustration. Frustration is one of our behaviors. And just because Timmy doesn't fall out of his chair doesn't mean he's not frustrated. B is very wrong. C, the behavior decreases immediately. What happens during extinction? What do we expect? We actually expect the behavior to increase before it decreases. C is wrong. D, the behavior doesn't change. If we implement extinction correctly, we expect behavior to change, okay? If we stop delivering reinforcement for previously reinforced behavior, we expect that behavior to change. So A is the only answer, okay? This seems like a difficult question, but it really isn't. It should be very easy, okay? Know your definitions. Okay, that's it for today. Go back, look at part 1 and 2. Email me for the slides with study guides. Look at my task list review, and then I'll be back in a couple days with another video.